Have you ever wondered why so many people crave success, read self-help books, and watch motivational videos every day, yet still feel stuck in the same place? Why do some people seem to attract prosperity effortlessly, while others, despite having faith and putting in effort, live in constant frustration, tired of trying? It may sound strange, but the answer might be hidden in an ancient passage from the Bible, Psalm 1. And more than that, this answer connects directly to what Napoleon Hill revealed in his teachings about true success and lasting wealth. What you're about to discover might surprise you and maybe even make you a little uncomfortable at first. Because the truth is simple yet powerful. The way you approach life, faith, and discipline has a direct impact on your destiny. It's not about praying harder, wishing more, or working yourself to exhaustion. It's about aligning your mindset with eternal spiritual principles while taking action with clarity, purpose, and consistency. Psalm 1 begins with a phrase that seems obvious. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. But what does that actually mean in real life? And how does this ancient idea relate to concepts like positive mindset, disciplined action, and personal transformation? Most people never take the time to reflect deeply on this, and that's exactly where the hidden truth lies, the truth almost no one is talking about. Stay with me until the end, because this revelation could completely change how you view success. If you feel like you're always chasing something but never reaching it, if procrastination, fear, or doubt keep sabotaging your plans, then this message is for you. And I'm not just talking about money or status. I'm talking about a life filled with purpose, abundance, inner peace, and real freedom. These are things that only become possible when you understand the spiritual blueprint for success and apply it with intelligence and action. So why? Bring Napoleon Hill into this conversation, because he was one of the few authors who understood that success isn't just about strategy. It's about who you become in the process. And that's directly tied to what Psalm 1 reveals in a deep, symbolic way. When Hill talks about the power of thought, faith, and clear decision-making, he's echoing wisdom that's far older. The same wisdom found in the Bible, just waiting to be unlocked by those with eyes to see and the courage to act. Have you felt this way before? That you're doing everything right, but something invisible still holds you back? Maybe what's missing isn't willpower, but a shift in your starting point, your root. Because as the psalm says, it's the tree planted by the river that bears fruit in due season. And it's that river we need to talk about. Yes, there's still more to come. The connection between faith, discipline, and a positive mindset goes deeper than you think. And in the next part, you'll learn exactly how to turn that knowledge into real daily action. And it's that stream we need to talk about, because when you truly understand what it means to be connected to this source of purpose, wisdom, and action, everything changes. You're no longer at the mercy of life's winds, other people's opinions, or the unstable emotions of day-to-day life. You begin to live with deep roots, grounded in values that support and nourish your growth, even when the storms come. And listen, if at any point during this journey, something resonated with you, if you felt moved by anything that was said here, if a single word reflected your current reality, I want to invite you to leave a comment down below, sharing what impacted you the most. It can be a question, a personal story, or even just a simple, "This spoke to me." Your voice matters, because this channel isn't just mine, it's ours. It's a space where we grow together, learn together, and strengthen one another. And if this theme of faith, discipline, and personal transformation through a positive mindset is part of your path, go ahead and like the video now. It tells YouTube that this kind of message matters and helps it reach more people who, just like you, are searching for a life filled with deeper purpose. Oh, and of course, if you want to keep walking this journey with me, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell. Every week, there's a new video with insights, practical principles, and lessons that combine spirituality and action, always rooted in powerful texts like this one and in the timeless ideas Napoleon Hill brought into the world. Your presence here is what makes this all worthwhile, and it's what keeps this message alive, growing, and spreading. Now, take a deep breath, because what comes next might open your eyes to an invisible pattern that's been silently sabotaging your prosperity, without you even realizing it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because what many people don't realize is that Psalm 1 is not just a beautiful poem or a generic moral lesson. It's actually a true manual for inner transformation. When the text says, "Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked," it's not just talking about avoiding bad company. It's subtly revealing a deeper truth about the origin of our thoughts, habits, and results. What you consume, what you listen to, what you allow into your mind, all of that shapes your reality. And Napoleon Hill said the exact same thing in different words. You become what you think about most of the time. The Bible, throughout its verses, consistently points to this same principle. In Romans 12:2, for example, we read, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." See how that directly connects to the message of Psalm 1. We're talking about a deep internal shift that begins with how you think, feel, and respond. And that's where the power of applied spirituality lies, when faith becomes more than belief and turns into guided action. The metaphor of the tree planted by streams of water is a visual invitation. Think about it. A tree with deep roots, constantly nourished, that bears fruit in its season and whose leaves do not wither. That's stability. That's consistency. That's discipline. Exactly what Napoleon Hill emphasized when he spoke about the importance of habit and persistence as keys to success. He understood there's no harvest without cultivation, and that's exactly what Psalm 1 is trying to tell us. There's no point in wishing for prosperity if your mind is constantly exposed to empty advice, distractions, and toxic patterns. At its core, the greatest hidden truth here is that the Bible doesn't speak only about spiritual salvation. It also teaches emotional wisdom, decision-making strength, and the building of purpose. Proverbs 4:23 reinforces this. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Napoleon Hill said the mind is like a garden, and that you must choose whether to plant flowers or weeds. That image is no coincidence. The words of the Bible and Hill's principles walk side by side, even if most people have never made that connection. Maybe that's why so many people feel lost, even within their faith, because they're missing the bridge between the spiritual and the practical, between what they believe and what they actually live. Psalm 1 doesn't just want you to believe. It wants you to make conscious decisions, build strong roots, and avoid being contaminated by things that don't nourish you. And Hill reinforces that by saying the mind is influenced by everything around it, your environment, your relationships, your thoughts. If you want transformation, you need to filter what comes in, and most importantly, decide what you will meditate on day and night, as verse 2 says. Leave a comment below, "I'm on this journey too," if this reflection resonates with where you are right now. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when Psalm 1 talks about the righteous person who doesn't walk with mockers or align with crooked paths, it's showing us more than just an ethical stance. It's describing a mindset, a way of thinking that protects, guides, and sustains. It's what we could call the mindset of the righteous, a way of seeing the world that refuses contamination, that knows exactly who you are, where you're going, and what truly matters. And this connects directly to one of Napoleon Hill's most powerful concepts, definiteness of purpose. Hill believed that every successful person he studied had one thing in common. They knew exactly what they wanted. They weren't constantly asking, "What should I do with my life?" or "Will this even work?" They had a clear direction, an unshakable purpose, and every decision, every step was aligned with that goal. This is exactly what Psalm 1 describes so beautifully. The righteous one doesn't get distracted. He meditates day and night on what he believes. He plants with intention. He chooses with wisdom. He's not everywhere at once, trying to please everyone. He has focus, he has roots. And here's what's truly amazing. This way of living creates an invisible but very real shield against everything that pulls us away from growth. When your purpose is clear and aligned with your spiritual principles, distractions lose their power. Other people's opinions don't paralyze you. The fear of failure no longer dominates you because your mind has already decided, I'm going all the way. Philippians 3:14 says, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward. That's the kind of mindset Psalm 1 praises, and the same one Hill translated into modern terms in his teachings. But here's where it gets subtle, the hidden truth most people miss. Without a clear purpose, your mind becomes vulnerable. You start absorbing the chaos of the world, comparing yourself to others, and wasting energy on paths that aren't yours. And over time, that steals your identity. It's like your roots stay shallow, unable to support a life of depth. That's why both the Bible and Napoleon Hill insist, align yourself with a higher purpose. Choose your source. Decide where you'll drink from, what you'll meditate on, and what you'll water every single day. The journey of the righteous, according to Psalm 1, is steady, fruitful, consistent. Not because he's perfect, but because he has direction. And most importantly, he refuses to walk the paths that lead to confusion. That's the kind of mindset that transforms not just your outcomes, but the way you feel, respond, and live. And that, as you may already sense, is the beginning of something much greater. Drop a comment below. This speaks to me. If this connection between faith, purpose, and mindset touched you in any way. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because there's an uncomfortable truth that many people avoid facing. You might be your own worst enemy. It hurts to hear that, I know. But if we ignore this point, everything we've discussed so far loses its power. When Psalm 1 talks about the man who does not sit in the seat of mockers, it's not just warning against bad company in the literal sense. It's calling us to a much deeper, more personal reflection. That seat might be inside your own mind. It could be that pattern of negative thinking, that inner voice that criticizes, sabotages, and delays. And that's the silent backstage where many dreams get buried. Napoleon Hill saw this clearly. He said failure rarely comes from the outside. It begins within through fear, doubt, procrastination, and lack of control over one's own mind. And you know what's fascinating? The Bible says the same. In Proverbs 23:7 we read, For as he thinks in his heart, so is he. In other words, how you see yourself, how you treat yourself, how you position yourself, this shapes the life you experience. When you sit, even in silence, beside defeatist thoughts, limiting beliefs, and toxic comparisons, you are part of that circle. And that's pure self-sabotage. It's as if every single day you're choosing which table to sit at, doubt or faith, procrastination or discipline, excuses or action. And that choice, no matter how small it may seem, defines the course of your journey. Hill speaks to this in his self-confidence formula, a set of conscious decisions repeated daily that strengthen the mind and push fear away. And Psalm 1 echoes this by saying, the righteous man does not stand in the path of sinners. In other words, he doesn't stop halfway, feeding on thoughts that drain his energy. The great revelation here is this: success isn't blocked by external forces. It's blocked by what you tolerate inside yourself. By the way you let the wrong thoughts take root, by the way you respond to challenges. It's a silent game, but a powerful one. And the only way to win is by choosing to break those inner patterns. Transformation begins the moment you stop blaming the world and start leading your own mind. And that takes courage. It takes awareness. It takes constant vigilance. As 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, taking every thought captive to obey Christ. That's self-mastery. That's maturity. Drop a comment below. I recognize my sabotaging thoughts. If this opened a new window of awareness inside you, now I want to go even deeper into this topic. Because understanding all of this, but not applying it, is like holding a treasure map in your hands and never taking a single step. And this is where one of the most overlooked but also most powerful keys of this entire journey comes in: spiritual discipline. We're not just talking about following rules or empty religiosity, but about an internal routine that supports your transformation. Psalm 1 is very clear when it says, "The righteous man delights in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night." That's rhythm, that's consistency, that's purposeful, repeated action. And that consistency, which may seem small in the eyes of the world, is exactly what builds the inner structure of someone who is truly prosperous. Napoleon Hill said that willpower is the muscle of the mind, and like any muscle, it must be trained daily. Faith is no different. Hebrews 10:36 reminds us, you need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. That perseverance is deeply connected to discipline. It's what keeps you on track when the initial excitement fades. It's what shapes your results when no one is watching. It's those quiet, often invisible decisions that create lasting impact over time. Spiritual discipline isn't about doing a lot occasionally. It's about doing a little consistently. It's taking a few minutes each day to align your mind with what you believe. It's starting your day with the right word in your heart. It's watching your thoughts, adjusting your focus, and renewing your faith. It sounds simple, but it changes everything. Because the more you practice this daily meditation, this active, intentional reflection, the deeper your roots grow. And as Psalm 1 says, those with deep roots do not wither, they don't break in the first storm. Hill spoke about this without using religious language, but the meaning was the same. For him, success was built through habits, and habits are built through discipline. When he taught about the power of organized self-improvement, he was really echoing the wisdom of Psalm 1. Because the righteous man doesn't act randomly, he lives with intention. And that intention is born from a commitment to something greater than himself. That's what sustains him. That's what transforms him. So many people want change, but they resist routine. They want a miracle, but not the process. And that's the breaking point where most people give up. They think faith alone will solve everything. But the Bible and Napoleon Hill agree on something essential. Faith without continuous action is just empty hope. It's like building a house on shifting sand. Discipline is the invisible foundation that supports the life you're trying to build. Type in the comments, "I'm building my roots," if this message reflects where you are today. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when we talk about faith, discipline, and consistency, there's one element that's absolutely crucial: mindset. Not the kind of shallow, feel-good mindset built on cliches or fake optimism, but that inner posture you choose to hold, even when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. Napoleon Hill understood this clearly. He studied hundreds of successful people and realized that every single one of them cultivated a mindset focused on solutions, growth, and focus. And even though he didn't always quote scripture, he was using the same spiritual principles we find in Psalm 1. When the psalmist talks about meditating on the word day and night, he's teaching something deep. The mind needs constant nourishment. And not just any nourishment, but the kind that strengthens, aligns, and brings clarity. It's about keeping your heart in a state of trust, even in the face of doubt. It's about reprogramming how you see the world and respond to challenges. Hill called this auto-suggestion, the daily practice of affirming who you choose to be until that inner image becomes your reality. And the Bible reinforces this in Philippians 4:8, where it says, "Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, think about such things." The hidden truth many ignore is that a strong mindset doesn't happen by accident. It's built brick by brick, choice by choice, and it's tested most in the hardest moments. Hill used to say, "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent benefit." And if we pay attention, that's the same principle as faith, believing that even in chaos, something good can grow. This isn't magic, it's positioning. It's the daily decision about where you'll place your energy and focus. And the impact of that choice is massive. Your mindset determines how you interpret events, how you respond to obstacles, and even how you see yourself. Psalm 1 shows us that the righteous one prospers not because of luck, but because he is firmly planted, nourished by a source the world can't see. And that's exactly what Hill teaches: to build an internal system so strong, so well structured, that no circumstance can shake it. This kind of construction takes time, intentionality, and repetition. But it changes everything, because when your mind is aligned with truth, the truth about who you are, where you're going, and what you believe, your decisions become lighter, your journey becomes clearer, and your results become more consistent. That's how you live with purpose. That's how you prosper with integrity. Drop a comment below. I'm on this journey too, if this part resonated with you. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when we talk about prosperity, the first image that comes to many people's minds is still money, a full bank account, material possessions. But both Psalm 1 and the teachings of Napoleon Hill reveal a much deeper truth, one that's often forgotten. True wealth isn't about what you accumulate, but how aligned you are with your purpose. And that alignment has power. It creates invisible roots that sustain your journey even when the winds shift, even when everything around you feels unstable. Psalm 1 describes the righteous person as a tree planted by streams of water. And that image is deeply symbolic, because a tree only bears real fruit when it's connected to the right source. And the right source, in this case, isn't an empty promise of fast success, nor an emotional shortcut built on comparison or urgency. The right source is purpose. It's knowing why you wake up each day. It's understanding the impact you want to make in the world, and living in alignment with that. Napoleon Hill stated, "Success comes to those who become aware of their definite purpose." And he didn't say that theoretically. He saw it happen repeatedly in the lives of great leaders, entrepreneurs, and world changers. They all had one thing in common: they knew why they were here. And more than that, they were willing to live for that why, even when the path was difficult. That inner clarity not only produced material wealth, but also a sense of peace, direction, and fulfillment that no external thing could replace. The Bible reinforces this same idea in Jeremiah 17:7-8, which says that the one who trusts in the Lord is like a tree planted by the waters that sends out its roots by the stream and does not fear when heat comes. That's inner strength. That's resilience. That's living from a stable center that doesn't depend on circumstances. And that is what defines someone who truly prospers. Because true wealth is fruit. It's not the goal. It grows from the inside out as a result of a life lived with purpose and intention. What many people don't realize is that living disconnected from your purpose creates a silent drain. You try to make things happen, but it feels like you're always pushing a boulder uphill. Nothing flows. Decisions feel heavy. Time slips away. That's because where there is no purpose, there's no creative energy, no sustaining force. That's why both Hill and the psalmist teach us that before seeking prosperity on the outside, we must first build a firm connection with the right source on the inside. Drop a comment below. Purpose is my root, if this part made you reflect on where your decisions are truly planted. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, Because even after understanding faith, purpose, and mindset, there's still something that holds many people back, and maybe it's holding you back too. These are simple, almost invisible mistakes that quietly sabotage your progress every single day. Psalm 1 already gives us a warning about this when it speaks of those who stand in the way of sinners and sit in the seat of mockers. This image reflects stagnation, distraction, paralysis. And it's not by accident. These are the same behavioral patterns Napoleon Hill identified in people who never achieved true success: procrastination, distraction, and a lack of faith in their own path. Let's start with the first: procrastination. It's not just the act of delaying tasks. Often it's the symptom of a deeper fear of failure, fear of judgment, or even fear of success and not knowing how to handle it. Hill said, procrastination is the killer of momentum. It drains the energy you need to begin, and when you feed it every day, even in small doses, it creates a cycle of eternal waiting. The most dangerous part is that it happens quietly, behind the scenes of your routine. You look busy, but you're not moving forward. The second mistake is distraction. And I'm not just talking about social media or the TV in the background. I'm talking about the information overload that leaves your mind exhausted, the endless comparisons that make you question yourself, the constant urge to please everyone while forgetting to listen to your own soul. The Bible, in 1 Corinthians 7:35, speaks about living undistracted so that you may devote yourselves to the Lord. It's a call to focus, to true dedication, because without focus, your energy scatters, and without energy, you can't sustain transformation. The third mistake, and perhaps the most subtle, is the lack of faith in your own journey. And that might sound strange coming from someone who believes in God, who reads the Bible, who prays daily. But often, faith is easier to hold for others. You believe God will work in your friends' lives, in your family's lives, but deep down, it's hard to believe He'll work for you too. Hill described this as weakened inner belief. That feeling that no matter how hard you try, something will always be missing. That lack of personal faith makes you give up too soon, sabotage your own decisions, and lose trust in your ability to achieve. These three mistakes are like rotten roots in fertile soil. Even if you plant a good seed, it won't grow strong. That's why it's so important to recognize and cut these patterns before they become permanent habits. To prosper requires clarity, and clarity begins when you can see clearly where you've been stumbling. Drop a comment below. I'm clearing the soil if this part helped you realize something important about your own journey. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you understand the mistakes that hold you back, it becomes clear that what's needed is a clear path. Something that brings together faith, discipline, and daily action in a simple but powerful way. And that's exactly what both Psalm 1 and Napoleon Hill offer when we look closely. There is a kind of formula, a structure, that anyone willing to transform their life from the inside out can apply. And the best part, it doesn't depend on external circumstances. It begins in the mind, flows through discipline, and blossoms in action. Psalm 1 reveals this structure in layers. First, it says the righteous person doesn't walk in step with what weakens them. That's conscious choice. It means filtering what enters your mind, your conversations, your environment. Then it highlights the practice of meditating day and night. That's discipline, the act of staying connected to the right source, even when everything around you invites chaos. And finally, it speaks of the fruit. Whatever he does prospers. That's action, the external movement that flows from internal consistency. Nothing impulsive, nothing rushed, one step at a time with firmness. Napoleon Hill, in different words, taught exactly the same thing, that the mind must be fed with dominant thoughts of faith and purpose. That discipline shapes character and determines destiny. And that action even imperfect action, is the final link between intention and result. He called this applied faith, a faith that moves, that chooses, that builds. And this aligns perfectly with the wisdom of James 2:17. Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. In other words, believing isn't enough. You must act based on what you believe. This formula, faith plus discipline plus consistent action, is what sustains any true transformation journey. It works like a system of gears. If one part fails, the whole system stalls. Faith without discipline becomes fleeting excitement. Discipline without faith becomes lifeless rigidity. And action without direction turns into burnout. But when these three elements work together, something extraordinary happens. You stop living in reaction to the world and start living intentionally. And over time, that builds real results, inner peace, and a deep connection to your purpose. The hidden truth is that there's no magic formula, but there is a spiritual formula. And it's not hidden. It's right there in Psalm 1, available to anyone willing to go deep. Prosperity in this view isn't a matter of luck, it's a matter of alignment. It's planting with awareness, tending with consistency, and harvesting in due time. Drop a comment below. I'm practicing the formula if this part spoke to you and reminded you of what truly matters on this journey. If you've made it this far, it's because this message spoke to you in some way. And that tells me you're part of a small but very special group of people, those who are truly committed to their own transformation. So if this content gave you clarity, direction, and that powerful sense that everything starts within, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're just getting started on a journey that goes way beyond motivation. It's about living with intention, faith, and real purpose. Drop this phrase in the comments. I choose to prosper with faith and action. Just so I know you stayed until the very last minute, and that this message truly reached you. That helps strengthen this community, this space we're building together for honest exchange and growth. Oh, and if the video touched you, if it brought some light your way, hit the like button. Not out of obligation, but because that simple gesture shows we're connected and helps elevate conversations like this one. And listen, there's a video right here that picks up exactly where we left off. Click on it and come with me. There's more insight waiting for you.